unemployment is in the increase. Yet we have a budget that have nothing for the poor masses of this country. I challenge the proponents of the 2019 budget. I challenge those who support everything presented by the executive to tell me where in the 2019 budget has any provision been made for the Talakawas? Where in the 2019 budget is there any provision for the have-nots, the unemployed, and the poor masses of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Mr. President, as I speak, there is no longer foreign investment in Nigeria. And I announce to you, Mr. President, with all these indices and yardstick, by the end of May, except there is a miracle, dollar will rise to 500 naira to $1. Because we have depleted our foreign reserve, we are a chartered borrowing nation. We must make sure that the 2017 budget is properly implemented. It is our responsibility to make sure that the budget is not elitist. It is budget of the poor. It is budget of the masses. It is budget that will be acceptable to the downtrodden in this country. Whatever they have brought to us is a mere proposal. It is our own responsibility now to convert this boju-boju budget to a budget that will be accepted to the masses of this country, and we should do that without compromising, without being afraid to be called names. Because hunger, Mr. President, have no political party. And all of us in this country go to the same market. The Nigerians are our interest. In their interest, we must produce a budget that will be beneficial to them. You speak the truth, you die. You lie, you die. So I want to speak the truth, Mr. President, and die peacefully.
Okay, distinguished.
Dino is a pro-democracy activist. He has been arrested twice by the Nigerian police and released on bail for organizing protests in defense of human rights and democracy. Mr. President, this social activist was again rearrested last Thursday on the order of the Inspector General of Police over a matter that took place in Kano in the year 2000, specifically 18 years ago. Mr. President, this matter has been decided by a competent court of law in the Kano division of the High Court of Justice, Kano State, under the court of Honorable Justice A.M. Haliru. The judgment has been given. Deji Adeyanju and 2 others have been discharged and acquitted by the court. Mr. President, I have the judgment here I will lay before the Senate. We are in a democracy where gagging and stopping people from exercising their democratic rights should be allowed, Mr. President. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given us the freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom of the press. But a situation whereby a security agency of government will be used to gag individuals from expressing opinions or criticizing the government of the day is not acceptable to me, is not acceptable to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and should not be acceptable to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have no other place to cry to except the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it is 33 of the rules of the Senate. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President, a senator may make personal explanation. Mr. President, this Senate is governed by rules. There is a subsisting motion on the ground, and by our rules, that motion needs to be seconded first, before you can take contributions. The leader, Mr. President, the motion, there is a motion on ground. And that motion needs to be seconded before a debate. So to come out and address burglary as mayor and not to know that burglary can lead to assassination automatically puts it that the Nigerian police have identified some individuals that no matter what happened, we will not get their service. I am particularly very unhappy, and my privilege was abused by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, last week. Mr. President, last week, the President in the presidential villa, while addressing a delegation of the Buhari campaign organization, said he doesn't know what we are doing in the National Assembly. He said that some of us have been in the National Assembly for over 10 years and we have nothing to show for it. And I felt this statement, Mr. President, is not only unpresidential, but it's an assault on my person and the institution of the National Assembly, where I am proudly a member. Mr. President, such derogatory statements and insult on the National Assembly should not be allowed to go unnoticed. So I want to say that the National Assembly has been carrying out our functions in accordance to the provisions of the 1999 Constitution and all our extant laws. So I want to call that Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari for using this unparliamentary, unpresidential, unconstitutional language in the National Assembly, apologize to the National Assembly. I call on him to apologize to the National Assembly for using such a language, and that is where most of the appointees draw their inspiration from. That is why they disregard this National Assembly and even refuse to accept summons. I want to say finally, Mr. President, that we must also as an institution take a decision where heads of parastatals, ministries and agencies of government will continue to involve themselves in politics when by their calling, by their oath of office, they are not supposed to. Finally, I repeat again, the Nigerian Customs is a paramilitary organization. The Controller General of Customs is a rank. If he were wearing his uniform like I proposed earlier, he wouldn't have led the Buhari organization to meet with the president. So we must discourage such acts before we begin to see the Chief of Air Staff calling the slogan of a political party. Thank you very much and God bless you. Police attempted to kill me twice. One through the application of a chemical substance and the second time through injection. They actually came with an injection to inject me. But God intervened, and to him alone be the glory forever and ever. And that is for making statements during my recall exercise and asking everyone to stay aback. Politics have been shown to be not to be individualistic, but to be about issues and purpose. So to the national chairman of PDP, and indeed the executive of People's Democratic Party in Kogi State, I salute you. I salute you, I salute you. I want to thank Nigerians in general for showing me uncommon love, for showing me that they can stand by the truth at all times. I thank Nigerians, I thank Nigerians, I thank Nigerians, and I cannot stop thanking Nigerians. When I went through the social media, when I saw the kind of support I got from Nigerians, then I am propelled, encouraged to continue to do only those things that will promote the integrity and prosperity of this country. Special request to you, Mr. President, that because of the trauma I went through, and I'm still going through, Mr. President, I want to seek your indulgence that you will call on the side that I am to look for a comfortable seat for me on this side of the divide, because I am no longer comfortable sitting here. So I want to ask, Mr. President, that you mandate the side that I am for tomorrow to look for a seat for me on this other divide of the chamber. And that before you do that today, through the help of my walking stick, I will take a comfortable seat close to Papa General Senator David Mark, pending when you get me a comfortable seat on this side. I want to thank you very much. I say no retreat, no surrender. Thank you. Very respected colleagues, Dino Melaye, Kogi West. Mr. President, I draw inspiration from Order 43 of the Rules of the Senate. And Mr. President, so that we don't leave with an impression that is wrong, you had earlier ruled, Mr. President, that the chairman of Petroleum Upstream look into the issue of the conflict as regards the oil discovery. But I want to say that as a senator representing Kogi in this chamber, that my electric brother and friend, Senator Utazi, is totally wrong, and that my soft-spoken senator from Anambra State is totally wrong. The oil is from Ibaji local government in Kogi State, and it is wholly owned by Kogi State. And I want the chairman upstream to take note. Thank you very much. Mr. President, I am appalled that by the time I was attacked April 14th, 2017, the police arrested a gang of 6 people, and they were paraded by the same Jimo Moshood. And he said they have made confessional statements, guns and ammunition were recovered from them. These ammunition were paraded. In fact, the vehicle they used in coming to attack or attempted my assassination was also recovered, and all these are exhibits today before Kogi State Judiciary. These criminals have even been arraigned in court, and their testimonies have been accepted as exhibits in court. But yet, Mr. President, one of those declared wanted by the police in my assassination attempt is the one saying that on Airport Road in December, I gave him AK-47, 3 AK-47 and 430,000 inside my car on Airport Road. But Mr. President, as I speak to you, they fail in their myopic ignorance to state a date and time. I cannot understand how an arraignment can be done. A criminal confession, no date, no time. Because if you give me a date and time, I will be able to account for where I was on that date. And the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will not fold our arms and close our eyes where a state government is equipping militia group to raise havoc on innocent citizens. As I speak to you, Mr. President, this group is already killing in every part of Kogi State. There is record of killings in Okene, record of killings in Adavi, there's record of killing in Lokoja, and this group already are carrying AK-47 and pop actions openly. A law that will say you can carry arms and ammunition, and you are not a security agency. Kogi State Vigilante Group is alien to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They have no role in the Constitution, and this Senate must ensure same. Who is supposed to be the custodian of our laws, who is supposed to be the chief law enforcer in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we flagrantly ask an individual who has been nominated by Mr. President but have not been confirmed by the Senate to go and resume, and the person has since resumed and have started working. Then we are not practicing democracy, then we have no regard and respect for the rule of law. So, Mr. President, my intention is to bring this very outrageous abuse of office of the Attorney General of the Federation to the notice of the Nigerian Senate. And it's becoming one too many. It's becoming one too many. We must have an Attorney General of the Federation that will respect his calling. First as a lawyer, second as an officer of the law, and thirdly as the custodian and Attorney General of the Federation. Mr. President, this bold-and-counter approach to the application of that office can no longer be entertained by the Nigerian Senate, and I do hope that this Senate will take a very decisive action and correct this anomaly. So I want to advise, Mr. President, for the spirit of accountability and even to check corruption. It is good these two offices are separated, and you will be able to now have proper oversight by our relevant committees of the Senate over the CBN. We will now be able to ask for their reports and be able to sit down and check their financial report at the end of the year. But as presently constituted, it is going to be practically impossible for us to do. President, my brother and colleague, Senator Ovie Omo-Agege, addressed the media, and I saw it on channels and on NTA last week, where he said the decision taken by this Senate is targeted at Mr. President. I cannot be, so that I don't belabor you with unnecessary commentaries, Mr. President. I want to ask that this statement was made by Ovie Omo-Agege among other statements, that the Committee on Ethics and Privileges need to investigate this matter and find out if truly our decision was made and targeted at Mr. President among other issues raised by him. And that was not enough. Another interview was granted. And I think I will want to state categorically that I will not be part of any group or decisions that will be targeted at a particular character, talk less of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Some can lay claim to ancestral connections to the soil and consequently enjoy indigenship rights, while others have no such ancestral claims and must therefore suffer different degrees of political and social exclusion. Many are thereby denied access to both material resources and symbolic recognition in the communities where they may have lived for generations and to which they pay their tax. Mr. President, this is even so in our educational curriculum. The social studies, that is the basic rudimentary disposition for our social studies, teaches us about Jaja of Okwobo, Awolowo of Western Nigeria, Azikiwe of Eastern Nigeria, and Sardauna of Northern Nigeria. So these already create ethnic consciousness in us as a people. How many Nigerians will call for a rollover of their statement of account? How many Nigerians actually probe annually or every 6 months their bank statements? So these illegal hidden charges, illegal deductions, banks are making tens of billions of naira, hundreds of billions of naira illegally from innocent Nigerians. Another area that needs our focus, Mr. President, is the account of dead people. I want to believe deserve more than mere resolutions of the Senate, that a deeper investigation be conducted on this matter to the advantage of the masses and populace of this country. The Senate observes from the Memorandum of Understanding of Brass LNG is supposed to be a joint venture company with NNPC having controlling shares, and the account is supposed to be domiciled with the Central Bank of Nigeria. Mr. President, what I have brought to the notice of the Senate is that there are a lot of clandestine companies registered fictitiously with the design to misappropriate and steal government money. And government officials find themselves as directors in this company and begin to steal through this process. So I want to bring this to the attention of the Senate that we need to unravel this whole exercise. And the constitution of this country that we all swore to uphold must be respected, irrespective of circumstances. So, Mr. President, I am particularly asking that we ask this committee to become born again, go back, sit down, do a holy exercise, and come up with resolutions. But we must, as a matter of urgent necessity and national importance, call federal government to order. Call the ministers and the president to order by saying that all monies spent without appropriation must be refunded back to government coffers. Then they should approach the Senate for appropriation, then we will appropriate, and then they can spend. Luta continua, Victoria Sata. So, commission of inquiry upon commission of inquiry. Presidential committees upon presidential committees. And we have volumes of reports on these satanic killings from Taraba to Benue, from Benue to Zamfara, from Zamfara to Niger State, from Niger State to Enugu, from Enugu to Edo. Mr. President, we have volumes of reports.
Nigeria and Nigerians must take the life of every Nigerian not only seriously, but to defend Nigerians anywhere in the world. I am particularly surprised, Mr. President, that these video footages have been on YouTube and social media for over 1 month, and there's not been one very drastic position by the federal government of this country to condemn and take very proactive position on the lives of Nigerians outside the shores of this country.
People of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we are the mandate of the people to represent them here. And if our resolutions, our orders, and the reports of this institution, after spending public funds to investigate them, will not be respected, they are gradually becoming what I refer to as mere academic exercise. This should not be one of them. And we must make sure that we enforce resolutions of this chamber for the betterment of this country. That is the only way the true fight against corruption can be established. Mr. President, this is another test for the Nigerian Senate, and we want to see what will happen. In the spirit of the new Mustafa Boss between the executive and the legislature, I want to believe that our resolutions, they will start acting on them. Thank you, Mr. President. Nigeria is for all of us. Today, I bring to the attention of this Senate a monumental fraud in the power sector. In July 2013, Mr. President, my colleagues, the federal government raised $1 billion from an Eurobond issue. From the proceeds, the sum of $350 million was given to INBET in 2014. Mr. President, this money is instrumentally stolen. As I speak to you, Mr. President, sometime last year again, the Ministry of Power came up with the idea of project they term Fast Power. This ill-digested project is supposed to build new generating plants to add power to our grid. Before I round up, Mr. President, these are just a few questions. Up to date, there is no detail to build these new generating plants or a feasibility study. There is no appropriation by the National Assembly for this project. The ministry has spent so far $35 million on the AFAM Fast Power project that have no appropriation or no detailed feasibility studies. How and when was this money appropriated? We need to find out, Mr. President. Out of this money, $29 million was purportedly paid to General Electric for turbines, while $6 million was paid to others. If you take Kogi State, map out of Nigeria, there can never be Nigeria. As I speak to you, Mr. President, workers are being owed salaries between 16 and 21 months. Unfortunately, the Kogi State government reacted to the death of the man who committed suicide. And what did they say? Official statement by the state government was that the man is not owed 11 months salary, he was owed only 9 months salary. So I want to call on Mr. President as the political leader of the North Central not to keep quiet on this matter. How many people will kill themselves in Kogi State before we react? So I call on Mr. President to please not only intervene, but see President Muhammadu Buhari to bring to his attention the outrageously calamitous situation in Kogi State. We need immediate intervention. Salaries of workers must be paid, their emoluments must be paid, pensioners must be paid. We don't want more people to commit suicide in Kogi State.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Dino. You have noted. Leader of the Senate.
Dollars, and that we have gone out of recession. But the big question is this. If we are out of recession and our foreign reserve have graduated from 25 to 34 billion, why are we incapacitated in funding the 2017 budget? That is the question. Why are we not funding? Why are we incapacitated in funding the 2017 budget? Mr. President, we must speak the truth to ourselves so that we can be set free. What we need is to go back to the drawing board and use genuine economic indices, yardstick, to explain and fight recession. Mr. President, it's either you have been absent or because you have underperformed or you are a sleeping senator. For that reason, you may initiate a recall. But this recall is not initiated by my constituent. It is by the state government. And I want to bring this attention to the attention of my colleagues that this orchestration and injustice and lies and malicious manifestation of my governor should not be entertained in any democratic setting. I want to call on the Senate that this should not be allowed anywhere, not because it is Dino Melaye. It can be any member of any state of assembly tomorrow. It can be any member of the House of Representatives. It can be any senator. Where is governor will just come up, cook up names and signatures, including those of dead bodies, and initiate a recall process because he has our common patrimonial resources within his disposal. It will be difficult to move at the pace of other postal services across the globe if there is no enabling law that will satisfy and guarantee the operations of most of these international agencies with Nigerian Postal Service. So the bill is a welcome development. It will help to promote social service of the Nigerian Postal Service and also ease our exposure to MoneyGrams and other international agencies that the tariff always, or rather, their profit after tax is capital flight from Nigeria. Just yesterday, this report was received from the SSS. Mr. Chairman, if I have your permission, I want to read paragraph 14 of that report. Paragraph 14 of that report reads thus: in the light of the foregoing, many other issues have been mentioned. In the light of the foregoing, MAGU, M-A-G-U, MAGU in capital letters, has failed the integrity test and will eventually constitute a liability to the anti-corruption drive of the present administration. And if we have taken a position in the interest of the Nigerian people and an institution of government, we so disrespect and disparage the Nigerian Senate. May God make it. In fact, I am praying to the Almighty God that this is a misrepresentation, that they did not take this position. However, we will need to check this properly. If custom people will now start checking duty certificates on Nigerian roads. I will not be affected because if the president is coming, no custom man will stop him to ask him for his custom papers. The custom people will only salute and he will pass. That we invite the Controller General of Custom to appear in plenary and in uniform. What the Nigerian Custom have done by this announcement, Mr. President, is pure advertisement of incapacitation and incompetence. The hunger in the land is enough, the confusion in the land is enough, and this is the reason why President Olusegun Obasanjo banned custom from exercising and checking vehicles on the road in 2007. Because this will become another avenue for custom to start collecting 100 naira, 200 naira. They are corrupting them on the streets of Nigeria. So please, Mr. President, the appropriate committee must call the Nigerian Custom to order and protect the masses of this country, the Talakawas and the Mekunu. Thank you.